As preparations build towards the FIFA World Cup 2026, Concentric Advisors are leading the way in developing a holistic, intelligence-led event security model. And I'm joined now by Yari McBride, Director of Intelligence at Concentric, to discuss how our approach through online sentiment analysis, active monitoring and travel risk assessments identifies and manages fixated threats before they escalate, and how integration with SPS Global Assistance ensures a seamless, coordinated response across every phase of the event. Yari, it's an interesting time. We're seeing the worlds of sport and security combine, because when you think ahead to the FIFA World Cup, obviously, and to Mexico, there's an awful lot of attention and, of course, security concerns going to be focused on the event itself. So how is Concentric Advisors positioned to support this international event? Because you have a wealth of experience in supporting sporting events.
Well, I think what's different about Concentric and SPS is that we work together. And that's not only the intel working with the EP guys, with people on the ground, but also with SPS working on that global assistance consideration. So our intel team really looks at the event as a holistic, through a holistic view. So we're really looking at it from all aspects, from the digital side as well as from the physical side.
So give us an idea then of those aspects that you're talking about. Because we would think about active monitoring, we think about travel risk assessments as well would be vitally important, but there's other areas perhaps people mightn't be as familiar with.
Right, so one of the big ways that we like to support clients that are either attending or throwing a big event is an online sentiment and analysis report. And what that does is it really looks at your profile as a client or as a venue. And looks at what are people saying about you and your company or your event, right? So we'll go back a year and look at what the baseline presence of your company may be or your event, and what are people saying? Are people saying negative things? Are people saying positive things? Are there fixated individuals that might have a problem with the event and might have plans to maybe show up and make a scene or protest, especially now in today's day and age, a lot of protests happen quite frequently, but also just looking at maybe who you're hosting. So for the World Cup, it's so interesting because there's so many teams, there's so many venues, and there's so much to look at that an online sentiment and analysis report is really good to just set the stage so you can then better prep on what you want to do for each event and each day.
And so really it gives the security teams time and focus to prepare prior to the event. I'm surprised that you go back as far as a year to prepare for the event. I suppose that's necessary, though, on something like this scale.
It is, just because it gives you a better baseline of what is quote unquote normal, right? So, and also gives you trends. So let's say your event is in March, right? If we start looking a year out, we can then tell you this is very normal for the month of March for you, or this is actually high for you. We should maybe consider changing your security profile to adjust for the changes, or it's fine, this is normal, it'll die down in a week. You had the same thing happen last year. So that's why we like to go back.
So Yari, once you find something that could be potentially dangerous on active monitoring, what happens next?
Well, in some cases now, if it's a threat, we know where you are, we're coming to get you, something like that, we'll obviously alert the client right away and our EP team so they can modify the security profile. But on some cases where it's really scary, there's a home address or there's actual personally identifiable information, which we call PII.
Yeah.
In that case, we have another service. It's called Eclipse. And the beauty of Eclipse is that not only does it work with us, if we identify something on social media, but they also monitor hundreds of brokerage sites. So you may be aware your personal information is sold online all the time. It's easy when you sign up for an Instagram account, right? Your email address and your phone number are tied to that. If that's leaked, it's just a thread that you can pull on. And that's where things get really scary, and Eclipse comes in and deletes that information over and over on a daily basis, removes it off the internet. So it really, in best case scenarios, you've done this before.
Yes.
You've gotten any other services, and it's doing the cleanup beforehand. But in emergency situations where maybe it's caught through another service of ours, Eclipse jumps right in and removes that information off the web consistently, because it just almost regenerates.
I was going to say consistency is key here. And I would imagine most of us as individuals, because let's face it, nearly all of us now have some sort of digital footprint. You may not necessarily be on one social media platform, but you might have joined another one and so on. Are we all a little bit vulnerable when it comes to people accessing our personal information. And I suppose that lack of awareness as well. I wouldn't necessarily have an awareness that, you know, there might have been a data breach or a leak in one of the websites I signed up to 6 months ago.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. I mean, even if you do it all correct, even if you don't have social media and you stay off the internet, now we're seeing so many more alerts of data leaks or compromise where big companies, you know, cell phone companies are losing all their data. And if you have a cell phone, your information has been compromised. So out of no fault of your own, this is really just to protect yourself. It's like you know, for lack of a better word, it's like an insurance policy. Like, just in case, you know, anything's out there, how do I continue to protect myself just in case?
And the Eclipse service that's offered, it's consistent and ongoing.
Yes, absolutely. So you can choose, we have tiers where you can do daily, monthly, or even less cadence sweeps, but we definitely recommend daily or monthly for sure, just to make sure you're sweeping that. And we send you a monthly report that says this is how much information Eclipse has found, and this is how much has been deleted, and this is what we're working on deleting. So it's really helpful. And even we have some clients that make donations that maybe to a political party, and they thought it was very innocent and a positive thing, and you know, that's not very positive to the other, you know, the other party, right? So we do help with deleting as much as we can.
After all that prep work is done, Yari, and once the event is underway, I suppose that's when active monitoring kicks into play. So tell us a little bit about that.
So active monitoring is a different way of approaching a problem. So what we do is, active monitoring is exactly what it says. We actively monitor for you, your company, your venue, all those things. And we do that across multiple platforms. So everybody is aware of social media, but what we tend not to talk too much about is traditional media. That's your broadcasting, your news outlets, your vlogs, blogs, you know, all those things. We really look at all of that on the surface web. And then you take that and we also add the deep and dark web. So the deep and dark web is a place a lot of people aren't familiar with, but it's really where a lot of the scary stuff happens when it comes to escalating threats and behavior. So we really start with the surface web, with traditional and social media, just monitoring for anybody that, you know, fixated individuals, maybe a influencer that has a high visibility said something negative and now it's grown traction and people are more upset about the event, and then in the dark web, which is a lot of times when people are releasing personal information. So let's say there's a player or a team or something like that where a fixated individual has found their home address, let's say, or their phone number. Usually where we see that start to proliferate is on the deep and dark web, where people start to make scary plans.
That is quite frightening. And I suppose using this personal information that is on the dark web to weaponize against a person or a corporate entity. But definitely in terms of celebrities and players, which is what you have to deal with, the World Cup. Not just one team, but multiple teams from multiple countries as well. So you've got the sort of global platform to concern yourselves with too, in terms of protection.
Yes, for sure. And, you know, with the World Cup, you know, there's scheduled events, right? But typically you wouldn't know when the players or the teams are showing up, or, you know, that time and space predictability that we like to talk about. So active monitoring really picks up on that. Hey, someone got a hold of your itinerary. They know you're landing on this flight at this time. You might want to change your plans. We saw that not only posted in social media, but now we're seeing it in the deep and dark web. And that's where that just alone that it's on that platform or that part of the web is just scary on its own. So it's important to highlight not only what you find, but where you find it.
So once all of the teams have arrived safe and sound, and assuming that their personal details haven't been leaked and compromised, how do you ensure their safety with regards to their movement while they're in Mexico next summer?
Well, our executive protection team does an amazing job at supporting clients, regardless if that's a team or an individual principal, CEO of a company maybe. But they do work with local entities on the ground. So we would have an SPS or concentric specialist on the ground, but they would be working with someone who's very local to the area and familiar. And that's how we definitely vet our vendors, and we have partnerships. And, you know, we hate to use the word vendor because it is a partnership, and those partners will help with movement. At the same time, Intel is along every step of the way. And we're really supporting them not only with those social media and online threats that I talked about, but we also put like a geofence or a fence around the location, right? So not just your destination, but the vehicle maybe itself. And if we have the route that's going to be taken to the event, we monitor along that route anything that may be happening. And we use amazing partners with tools, AI, and also our analysts. Our analysts are very hands-on to identify anything that might be going on that route. That can be something as benign as a water line bursted and that road is closed, to maybe there's a traffic accident, or even, as we've seen recently, there's delays in flights or anything like that. So it really not only informs the EP team on the ground, but also the client on their safety, so they can better maneuver and get there on time and safely.
So it's really a case of focusing on the minor details that we as individuals would often miss. And that is the strength of Concentric Advisors and SPS.
No, absolutely. And it's that predictive, right? So maybe you're at your start point on your route before you're moving to the final destination, but we've identified something at your final destination. So we might divert you to another location while we wait for everything to settle. So it's a joint effort from beginning to end.
Yari, with so many people now traveling, not only for business, but for pleasure as well, there obviously is risk involved. And this is where a risk assessment comes in. How popular is it? How important is it for a company such as Concentric?
Well, very important for our clients. I definitely always recommend a travel risk assessment. Not only the location that you're going to, right? So even if it's leisure or business, right? But if you're, part of a big company and people associate you with that company and now you're just traveling for leisure, that really doesn't change your security profile. It's still going to be high, even with your family with you in tow, right? So we like to recommend travel risk assessments, which focus on the client and the location. So, for example, we do have very amazing companies that we support that are maybe women forward, and they travel to different countries like Saudi Arabia or in the Middle East, right? And just culturally, there's a different way of engaging in that country. So we like to note to clients, hey, this is the culture there. This is maybe the time of year that you're going. We recommend not wearing this, wearing this. And also, by the way, there is some instability politically in that country right now. So it really does guide clients that maybe are traveling for business and, hey, for your company, this is your company's not really seen in a positive light in this country. So it's not a general travel report that you can download anywhere, right? You couldn't go on Google and search that country and say, okay, I think I'm safe. We really tailor this to you, your family, and your company, so you feel like it's personalized to you and give you direct mitigation.
And I guess peace of mind as well, especially if you are in the corporate world and bringing your family abroad for the first time. You may never have been in this country before. You're expected to settle down. Perhaps children are going to school. So you would help with all of that.
Yes, absolutely. And that's kind of the way we like to approach it, where you can either provide this report to your security team as you're deciding if you want to go or not, right? You're using this travel risk assessment to tell you that, or you're going anyway and I'll read it on the plane there, right? So a lot of people do that both ways. And that's really how we approach the services that we provide our clients. At Concentric, we do what we call an executive risk assessment. It could also be called a family risk assessment. As more and more is a positive thing, we're seeing a lot of executives and CEOs and C-suite members whose spouses are also very prominent in their own space and successful. So we do approach just the overall look of your program, your home, your own corporate profile, your social media, your child's social media engagement, and how that may affect your security, just holistically or even specifically like we're talking about in travel.
Which is sure to bring peace of mind as much as it can do.
Absolutely.
Powerful combination there and an excellent service offered too. So Yari, if you had to summarize Concentric's advantage in supporting FIFA next summer, what would it be?
Partnerships. I think that the fact that, not only as companies, right, SPS and Concentric work together to not only provide that deep intel analysis, EP support or executive protective support, but also our global assistance from SPS, right? So if something does go wrong and we have to get you out of there or mitigate the situation, we really work in partnership that way. But then if you even look at it even more granular, as a company, we work integrated. So you're not, intelligence and executive protection and even global assistance, they're not in silos. We're all sharing information and working together. And I don't think that's something a lot of companies do. And then on top of that, to make it even better, not only are our analysts looking at every piece of information, but we layer it with technology and AI to make it even more efficient and find information right away, but then vet it with an actual analyst that's an expert in that region. If you look at our experience also, we've worked so many events, but also large scale events that bring in so many different cultures and nationalities as well, different countries in one place. And one of them would be Formula One. I mean, it's such a high visibility event with a lot of moving pieces, and we do it seamlessly.
Thank you, Yari. It is indeed fascinating to see how intelligence, technology, and on the ground coordination come together to form such a comprehensive protection model, one that ensures every phase of major global events is managed with confidence and care. Together, SPS and Concentric deliver the expertise and integration required to safeguard high-profile events around the world.